There's a couple of warnings about the impending damage, particularly to the US economy. The Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin has told senators unemployment could soar as high as 20% unless Congress delivers fiscal stimulus. 32 million Americans out of work. And Deutsche Bank is predicting Q2, the US fall will be on an annualized basis 13%, the sharpest contraction since World War II. The forecasts for Europe are even worse. Governments are proposing a variety of solutions to help blunt the economic damage, and the US is making plans for cash handouts and tax relief. Some companies in the travel and hospitality sector are calling for taxpayer bailouts. Other countries are proposing bridge loans to help companies, businesses stay afloat, and they will be paid back interest-free once the crisis is over. Mohamed El-Erian is the Chief Economic Advisor at Allianz. Let's take this point by point, and we've got as much time as we need in this sense. The two major banks, JP Morgan talks about a deep recession, short but deep. JP Morgan, worst. Deutsche says worst since the Second World War. How are you seeing it?
I'm really worried. I'm worried because you and I have been discussing for the last 6 to 8 weeks the economics of a sudden stop. And we have reached critical mass. This is no longer a sudden stop of a country. This is a sudden stop of the global economy. It is massive destruction in demand and supply. Then there's a second dynamic, completely independent, but feeding on itself, which is an economic deleveraging. People are selling everything. On a day when the stocks are down sharply, the risk-free asset is down sharply in price. And what you have is an economic deleveraging and then a financial deleveraging. And they feed onto each other. And then the final point I would make, Richard, is policy can do a lot and should do a lot. It can protect the most vulnerable segments of our society, and it should. It should protect the strategic element, and it can help balance sheet, but it cannot restore economic activity.
Right, but if we take what you've said and put it into two distinct areas, the health crisis, which I know they're related, but the health crisis and actually getting over the virus, and then the economic crisis slash financial crisis, dealing with the aftermath. Do we have, is there, it sounds naive, but we're going to be talking about trillions of dollars over the next few weeks. Is there enough money to ensure the survival of the global economy?
Yes, there is enough money to ensure the survival of the global economy, but it will survive and come out of this looking very different. If, and here is the qualifier, because what I'm about to say is what will change prospects in a major way. If we get a health solution defined as containing the virus, and on the other side, treating illness better and increasing immunity. A vaccine does both. That would be the matter. If we get that, then we recover rather quickly, and we do minimal damage to the landscape. If we do not get that in the next 3 to 6 months, we are going to be doing lasting damage to the global economy. Not because we're going to run out of money. We're not going to run out of money. Banks are going to print till tomorrow morning. But because we are going to change fundamental relationships, and we're going to bankrupt liquid, solvent companies that will become insolvent.
On that point, Deutsche Bank made in its case this morning, and Morgan did the same, that they revised their numbers because the downturn in China, we're only just getting those numbers, was more steep and severe than we first thought. But by the same token, all things being equal, the recovery has been faster, and the move to normality has been faster than we first thought. Can we take comfort from that second part?
A little bit, but there's a very fundamental difference. When you restart an economy and the rest of the system is healthy, you can get a quick response. When you try to restart a global economy, That is a very different proposition. And we're going to be trying to restart a global economy. And there's a few things we know about that. One is that you need a certain amount of synchronization for this to happen. You can't restart one place and the other one does not start. So it is, I do think if we get a health solution quickly, we can restart a la China, but the longer we wait, the more complicated the restart is.
This level of layoffs and the speed of it, in the global financial crisis, it was sort of drip by drip by drip over several months as it bit. This is the equivalent of hitting a brick wall. I mean, I'm sure where you are as well, you go down the streets, every shop is closed. Workers are laid off. Every restaurant is closed, particularly here in New York. So I'm wondering, from your point of view, what is the best, there's no single bullet, but what's the best bit of armoury that they can deploy now? Is it the helicopter cash?
So that's part of it, but we have to be realistic about what it does. So damage containment right now is the most important thing. If we don't stabilize the situation, we are going to feed onto each other. You know, I'm not a person who panics, but when I see the empty shelves, I think twice about what I should be buying. Right? The person cutting my hair has stopped doing so, not because she doesn't need the income, because she's worried about her health. You know, it is incredible how other people's interactions are accelerating all this. So we need to stabilize. Full information, full transparent information of what's going on a high-frequency basis. We're getting much better at that. Mm-hmm. 2 is supporting balance sheets. And 3 is getting to the most vulnerable segments. That's where the damage is going to be done the most.